moments of magic. Can you make memorable plays? And Williams checks it.
Okay, everybody. The Irish and the Trojans head to the locker room at the LA Coliseum. USC leads 17-7 at the break. Wanted to check in for 15 minutes or so during the halftime to talk some USC and Notre Dame. And of course, with the situation in college football in the other conferences, USC still very much in play. A conversation near the end of the first half involved, is USC in a position to control its own destiny? I would think so. Especially if Georgia takes care of business and wins the SEC. But we'll talk USC and Notre Dame. Take your comments and questions for the 15-minute halftime here at the Voice of College Football. Notre Dame fans, please subscribe to the Notre Dame channel here. Check out the content that we provide on a regular basis, and the same goes on the USC channel. Trojan fans, we go live with Matt Zemek of Trojans Wire every Monday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. That's Trojans Live on Monday night, so make that a part of your Monday night schedule. All right. USC got the ball first, and they went to work. And it's the combination of Caleb Williams' immense talents, which may be unmatched in college football, combined with Lincoln Riley's creativity and his skill in developing an offense, in creating an offense, in scheming plays, and then also the entire concept of the plays and how they work off of each other. And you put those facets together, and it's a marvel to watch. And the opening drive, Notre Dame was just left out to dry a number of times and didn't know where to go, where to be, and left people out in the open. And, of course, USC scores quickly. They stop Notre Dame 3 and out. And there were a couple times in the first half in which it looked like USC was going to run away with the ball game. Like they were clearly the dominant team at a number of times. But Notre Dame kind of weathered the storm. And especially when USC got that second drive when Jordan Addison fumbled. It looked like Notre Dame got it, but Jordan Addison, very aware of where the ball was when he was laying on the ground, gathered it back. USC maintained possession. They had the first and goal at the 5, but then some penalties and Notre Dame's pass rush. Notre Dame's pass rush has been near exceptional in this game. However, Caleb Williams is just that good to miraculously not just like he's making plays 4 and 5, 6 times in this half that are like highlight plays for a season. He's doing it like 4 or 5 times, and sometimes they turn into completions. Other times he at least avoids a 25-yard sack. I'm exaggerating just slightly, a 15-yard sack, and tosses it out of bounds, but he usually salvages the play. So he has made some exceptional plays, just keeping plays alive. And again, it very much, and Kirk Herbstreit outlined this, very much does look like Patrick Mahomes as he gets trapped in the pocket and he backpedals out of it and then flushes to the right or to the left, or just backpedals and then he's able to find somebody downfield. All right, we'll take your comments and questions. Caleb Williams with a Heisman pose, if you saw that at the end of the first half on the play where he carried the mesh point and carried the football, allowed the Notre Dame defensive lineman to smash Jones in the backfield, then he pulled it out of his gut. It's really a lot of wizardry there. That was some special stuff. Caleb Williams has 10 of 13 for $146 and a touchdown. Austin Jones, 12 carries for 57 yards. And credit Notre Dame for hanging in there because, again, there were a couple times in the first half they looked like the far inferior team and looked like they might get blown out. And it may happen here in the second half, but it certainly did not happen in the first half as Notre Dame righted the ship. Drew Pine is 8 for 8 for 106 yards. And did you see him deliver some of those throws, Notre Dame fans, with like a hand in his face with somebody's Tui Polatu, who was, I think it was probably him because he seems to be in the backfield every play. with the hand in the face or the forearm in the chest, and Drew Pine is hanging in there and throwing some darts. So he's obviously the inferior of the two quarterbacks. It's all about Caleb Williams and the Caleb Williams show, but same time, Drew Pine keeping Notre Dame close. Logan Diggs has 19 yards rushing. Really, the Notre Dame rushing attack has not been. If you told me it was 17-7 at halftime and Notre Dame is hanging in there and it was actually 10-7 until just seconds left in the first half, I would say, shoot, Notre Dame's running the football, but they're not. 37 yards on 15 carries. All right. Appreciate everyone being here. Nostradamus says Oregon lost, Ohio State lost, and I hear LSU is losing. Wouldn't it be something if LSU lost to Texas A&M tonight? Would not surprise me. They've played a lot of close games against the likes of Arkansas and Texas A&M. The talent on those two rosters is pretty much the same. It's similar. So not a big surprise there. The Texas A&M last check was up 17-10 on LSU. And wouldn't it be something if LSU lost this week and then beat Georgia the next week? So here's the deal. You've got Michigan should win the Big Ten. They've got a date against Purdue. They're going to be an overwhelming favorite. If you've seen Purdue play this year, they're not a very good football team, not to be playing in a conference championship game. They're the 40th best team in the country, something like that. So it's Michigan-Purdue. You would expect Michigan to take care of business. The two big wins for USC today is that Ohio State got blown out, number one. Number two is that Clemson lost. So Clemson's done. The ACC is done. TCU took care of business, and surprisingly so, for one of the few times, actually for the only time this season, TCU is taking care of business in emphatic fashion, winning by 48. So they don't need to escape or trail in the second half this week. They really blasted Iowa State. So an impressive win against a decent and okay Iowa State team. They're not deplorable. They're not one of the worst in the Power Five. They're okay. And TCU blew them out. So two huge events for USC today. Again, Ohio State getting blown out in the second half and Clemson losing. Big, big victories for USC right there. I believe that USC controls its own destiny. I can see a situation, of course, if TCU runs the table, they're 13-0. They've got a conference championship game against most likely Kansas State, who's defeating Kansas right now. So there's a spot to TCU, a spot to Michigan, a spot to Georgia. Now, if LSU defeats Georgia, then USC may have an issue. If they get an LSU SEC victory. Connor, good to see you tonight. Oregon State winning helps SC. Oregon State winning helps SC. Yeah, they played. Of course, they played earlier. It helps the resume. Hopefully the committee's going that deep into the resume. It doesn't seem as though the media does. The media just looks at like the top 2 or 3 wins and isn't going that deep into the resume. But hopefully the committee is, yes. Since SC did not play Oregon, but did play Oregon State and won that game, that's going to help with Oregon State finishing at a fine 9-3. Congratulations, Connor. And I'll congratulate myself for picking Oregon State to win that game outright. They were down, 28-10, something like that. All right. Nostradamus says second half will be really tough for USC. Maybe. Johnny Bays, of course, longtime viewer. Good to see you here. Happy Notre Dame fan wants Tommy Rees fired. A lot of people do. Brandon, if Notre Dame loses to USC tonight, I don't care who Notre Dame plays in a bowl as long as they win. 9-4 was not the goal, but it's something to build off of. Yeah, Notre Dame has more bowl options than any team in America because of the lack of conference affiliations. You can see Notre Dame in all sorts of spots where they are eligible for bowl games. Happy Notre Dame fan, of course, wants Notre Dame and LSU to get together to see old buddy Brian Kelly. Pardon me there. Sorry about that. All right. We got Mike who says, Mark, does anyone have a bigger win than beating a number 2 on the road? No. That now becomes the best win in the country. Again, Oregon's lost a third game now. So the Georgia win over Oregon takes a bit of a hit. You got to say that that's the win of the year right now. Some of the Tennessee, LSU, Alabama, that triumvirate in the SEC, they've taken a few hits there with some losses there. So, yeah, there it is right there. Ohio State certainly didn't look like the number 2 team in the country, maybe a top 10 team at this point. We'll see where the Buckeyes fall. And they're on life support, of course, for the playoff, but still in the mix if they get some help from like a Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game, possibly. Yes. So basically in the Pac-12, I believe if Washington wins tonight over Washington State, they will be USC's opponent in the Pac-12 championship game. The two teams did not play in the regular season. And then you also had Utah in play. They whipped Colorado. And if Washington gets upset by Washington State, Utah will play in the Pac-12 championship game in a rematch against USC. So USC would be able to avenge its one loss on the road. That's the one thing that USC's got going for it. You've got a Utah team that's 9-3. They're solid. They're top 12 to 13, 14 in the country. And USC lost by 1 point on a 2-point conversion with a lot of controversial calls and plays in that game on the road. One of the more difficult places to play, Rice-Eccles Stadium. Connor Johnson, to all the Michigan fans on here, because I know there are millions. Congrats. I don't know what that says after that. All right. Does Michigan move to number 1? Well, if you compare Georgia's strength of schedule versus Michigan's, Georgia still has a much stronger strength of schedule top to bottom. Michigan has the better number 1 win. Ohio State, really strong win against Penn State in dominant fashion. You can make an argument there either way. I've really got no issue. I would not have an issue with the committee putting either team at number 1 because you can argue either side capably. Johnny Bays, why didn't Marcus Freeman calm first a field goal attempt? I don't know what that means. Call for a field goal attempt. Were they in the red zone? Were they in the red zone and did they go for it on 4th down? I'm trying to remember when that happened. No reason to go for it on 4th down. So they got stopped on 4th down. How did I miss that one? Must have been me flipping around after a commercial break and I missed that. So, yeah, this is an interesting game because styles make matchups. And these are 2 very different football teams, 2 extremely different football teams. Absolutely. One scoop, John. You got to feel good. Congratulations. Brandon, I liked the idea to go for it on 4th and 1, but dude, that play call was horrible. Get in a power. Oh, you're talking about, yes, the one at midfield. Yeah, put in number 7 at fullback and let him loose. Yeah, that was an odd play. They look like Stanford from 10 years ago. They just got in those tiny splits up front and they just tried to mash it ahead and didn't even come anywhere close. Yeah. Not a fantastic call there. I didn't quite get that. Jeff's here. Appreciate you being here, Jeff. I've been saying for a while, be careful with 11-2 LSU team beating Georgia in the SEC title game because the conference may put 2 teams in the playoffs. Obviously, if LSU wins today, go USC. Yeah, that's been the talk of college football for weeks and weeks and weeks ever since LSU beat Alabama and took control of the SEC Western Division with 2 losses. That, yes, LSU controls its own destiny. They will be in the playoff if they beat Georgia, assuming they win tonight. But hey, they're down 24-17 right now to Texas A&M. Got to win the game in front of you. We could have a 3-loss SEC champion. I doubt it, but we could. And Michigan man Jason believes Michigan should be the new number 1 as well. Again, Georgia, Michigan's resumes are extremely close. Georgia probably has, again, I'm pretty confident in saying top to bottom, a better resume. Michigan has the better number 1 win, and the Penn State win was dominant, and Penn State has finished the season strong at 10-2. Georgia will add another much more significant win than Michigan. Michigan's going to beat Purdue. That's going to add very little to the resume while defeating LSU. Even if LSU loses tonight, they're going to be a top 15 team in the country. Nostradamus media pushing for 3 SEC teams in the college football playoff. I don't know what media that is. Have not seen that media. That's not a thing. That's not out there by anyone reputable. Frank, I have lost all confidence in the college football committee. I understand that. They need to do a better job. Yeah, they've missed it a few times. They have an extremely difficult job because doesn't take a mathematician to know we've got 5 major conferences and we've got 4 spots. Doesn't make any sense. It's a bad system, and the committee's got a difficult job. But they've done a few things here and there where they have not. They've got, the committee has like 5 or 6 bullet points: worst losses, best wins, best performance, eyeball test, conference championship. They use all these, but they pick and choose when they want to use them. And they really did a number with Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU last week that made no sense in the rankings. Yeah, I got to think that Georgia's not too concerned with rankings right now. Put us number 1, number 2, whatever. Georgia's just thinking we'll run through whomever's in front of us. Mike does not see Michigan jumping over Georgia if they didn't lose, but we are number 2. That's okay. And depending on the separation between 3 and 4, like last season, it mattered. It mattered with Cincinnati as the 4 seed. Whoever got Cincinnati was in a much better position than Michigan and Georgia playing each other. So it may matter. If you consider TCU to be the weakest team and they finish at 4, then you want to be number 1. But the deal is to make it. Frank, Ohio State should not be an automatic in the Final Four. Unless there's some kind of chaos, they should not be considered for a college football playoff berth. They should not be considered the way things stand right now, but they are 11-1. And if things get even more odd, chaotic in the next week, i.e. USC loses a game to drop to a 2-loss team, and if TCU loses a conference championship game, or if TCU loses in emphatic fashion in the conference championship game especially, then Ohio State comes back into play. Regardless of how bad they played today, it's still a season resume, and they're 11-1. So yeah, Mike, they do have a puncher's chance, because for as bad as they looked in the fourth quarter today, and it was really the way I looked at that game today is that Ohio State controlled the first half and they didn't finish. They didn't finish drives. They totally stymied and controlled Michigan's run game. Ohio State was, to me, clearly the best team in the first half, but they didn't. Michigan hit those 2 gash plays. Basically, Michigan stayed in the game on 2 plays in the first half to keep it at 20-17. The 2 Cornelius Johnson plays kept Michigan in the game 20-17. And then Michigan outplayed Ohio State in the third quarter slightly, and then they just wasted them in the fourth quarter. It was a slow build. Like Ohio State played better in the first quarter, played better in the second quarter, Michigan slightly better in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter was just ran over them. Impressive showing by the Wolverines for sure. Happy Notre Dame fan says, imagine if Ohio State is ranked behind Alabama. That may happen. The committee can do whatever it wants. It can say, you know what, they got killed, and Alabama beat, the teams that they beat. Plus, they lost to Tennessee on the final play, and they lost to LSU on the final play. They've done it before. They've done it before. Michigan man, Jason, I was so impressed with how good our defense shut down the Ohio State offense in the second half. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We are kicking off the second half. Keep in mind, right here on the USC channel and the Notre Dame channel, we will have USC Notre Dame postgame with our guys, Tony, Tim, Rick, and Will. How about that? Tony, Tim, Rick, and Will here for USC Notre Dame postgame right after the game. So please join us then. And I'll be on the main channel with the call-in show that we do every Saturday for prime time right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. USC Notre Dame.